Welcome to our first podcast.
We don't know how to start a first podcast, so I guess here we go. So we're just going to jump right into things. I don't know if we'll ever do an intro or outro, right, babe? I don't think. We're just kind of.
Yeah, just pretend there's really cool graphics and music.
We're here
Or
to
just
help you.
or just be thankful there is not.
There's not one. So pretend that the intro just happened. So we're just going to jump right in. I'm Laura.
I'm Kyle.
And this is the Because the World Needs Another podcast. Because the world totally needs another podcast. So we're here to save the day.
Podcast.
All right. So this podcast is going to be about relationships, health, personal development, and basically a step-by-step guide for freeing ourselves from the prison of our own subconscious minds. Anything you want to add to that?
Wow.
That's the gist, right?
It's a little close. Maybe back it up just.
Oh, it's a little. We're figuring out where our mics should be.
Yes. Okay.
So we taught a class called Life-Changing Principles to high schoolers in Las Vegas for a few years. We absolutely loved it. We realized that we're lifelong students and we love teaching and sharing what we're learning. And so we thought, what better place to do that than a podcast? And we really love getting all the tools necessary to intentionally create a meaningful life.
Yes.
So right out the gate, we're going to start with some trigger warnings. Okay. So this story is wild. And I have been very hesitant to share it publicly ever since it happened. Privately, if you know us privately and intimately, not super intimately, but intimately, then you know the full story. But it's a big story.
If you're friendly with us, you might have heard the story.
Yeah. So really quickly, though, it does require some trigger warnings, especially based on, I now understand why trigger warnings are necessary after what I lived through in 2020. So the trigger warnings are as follows. This podcast episode contains conversations about Botox injury, medical crisis, health struggles, panic attacks and anxiety, depression, agoraphobia, injury, and mental health topics. This first episode is going to contain all the gory details of the hideous dark night of the soul that was our 2020. Is that a good write-up or what, babe?
Wow.
Whew. So if you are someone who is currently suffering with a severely dysregulated nervous system, anxiety, and panic attacks, we will have a lot of helpful information for you on this podcast. However, we also know how triggering it is to listen to details on any of these topics. So if you're someone who is actively suffering with panic or anxiety, instead of listening for yourself, send this podcast to somebody who's looking out for you and have them listen to the episode and relay any pertinent information. And we'll also be putting resources and links in the show notes. So we'll kind of give a list because I understand, of all people, how traumatizing it can be to listen to some of this content. So disclaimers. Okay, trigger warning is done. Wow. Now, babe, we have disclaimers.
Jeez.
Can you tell I should have been a lawyer in another life?
People are loving this.
They're like, what's the tea? This is going to be crazy.
Or they're like, this is too much stuff. I'm done.
That's sad. Skip 3 minutes ahead, but legally we're.
You can always on.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Speed up podcast. Like click down at the bottom somewhere under settings and do. Our youngest son has a very hard time listening to it sped up. Anything past maybe 1.25 maybe. But I like it like 1.75, 1 point, depending on
2.
What I'm listening to.
I'm a 2 girl.
All the way?
Oh yeah.
All in 2?
All day. Although I speak so quickly, I'm trying to slow it down for the podcast so you can listen to it at 2 times speed. But if you listen to me at 2 times speed, it will probably sound insane.
Always speed it up.
So we apologize in advance for the disclaimers, but here we go really fast. Because I was in an extremely traumatized state for most of the time, we're going to be discussing. Don't judge Kyle if you notice he jumps in and interjects with a more accurate retelling of events. He's not controlling me. He's not like talking down to me or mansplaining to me. This is the most developed, lovely human being on the planet. He is not mansplaining and he's not like stifling my voice and controlling the conversation. I legit don't have super clear recollection of a lot of what we're going to talk about. So he's just helping you all have a clearer picture. So don't get all judgy on the Kyle. He's my best friend. Go easy on him. So disclaimer number 2. We ask our audience to please assume goodwill. We are not going to try to qualify every statement we make, and we may speak in some generalities, but please know that there is nothing general about what I went through and nothing general about what sufferers of complex PTSD, panic attacks, and anxiety go through. Okay?
Tremendous.
We love assume goodwill, right? We're going to have a whole podcast episode on assuming goodwill and doing yourself that favor. So, we work with clients in depth every day, and we know that everyone's life path is totally unique. However, we hope to share a little piece of our story really honestly and in a straightforward way. And we don't want to be, qualifying every single statement. We probably will qualify some statements, but we're wanting to just let you know we're speaking for ourselves and our own personal experience.
Yes, this is our experience, and
Yeah.
we are in no way offering medical advice or stuff.
Yes. You just
you have
got to
that next?
disclaimer number 3. That's why if you're watching
Oh, I
this
thought
on
it was
YouTube.
disclaimer 8.
Disclaimer number 1,000,000 is we are not giving medical advice. We will be taking you through my mental journey or my health journey, my mental journey. It doesn't even say mental, but I am. It is that also. It's part of it. But we will not be giving any advice regarding what we think you should do. We can only tell you what worked for us. So into it we go.
What about the disclaimer if they're offended?
If you're offended, we don't care. Go away. We're both, well, I am. You're not. I'm a recovering people pleaser. So if you're offended and you don't like me,
I probably will say things that will offend sometimes.
he will
That's my disclaimer.
He's a straight up straight shooter. Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't care.
And he's so nice. He really cares. He cares about you, but he cares about you enough to speak the truth and not worry about offending you.
Yes.
So in we go. Are you ready? So on December 31st of 2019,
Wow.
dun, dun, dun. What happened, babe? I was sneaky. You don't even know. He can't start this story yet because I was being sneaky. And I went to an esthetician in Salt Lake City to get a facial. And I asked her about Botox because I'm getting like the major intense little lines in between my forehead and some wrinklies up in my forehead. I'm 43. I was 39 at the time. And she said, "Oh my gosh, I have like the most amazing coupon. It's such a good deal, and you can fill this out and basically get it for free to try it out, and it's no big deal. No one has a problem with it." And deep down I kind of had a bad feeling about it that I didn't listen to.
Well, because we had talked about it before, and I was like, no, you don't need Botox. Just you're fine, you're beautiful, just no, there's no need for it.
Kyle is a huge fan of me exactly the way that I am. Period. Full stop.
Aging gracefully
Yes.
yes, there's no need for that.
Yes. And so he's like he's never wanted that. He's like, please don't do it. And he also knows I have had really severe reactions to things in the past, correct? We've had some really scary health up and downs that he has been there front row seat for the whole time. So,
which we'll probably tell that story too sometime.
Someday. Yeah. So I just was like, I'm just going to try it. Why not? But I made the decision right then. I'm not going to tell Kyle that I got it. I'm just going to do it. And then a couple days later, when it's like totally fine and obviously super great, then I'll just say, by the way, look, I got a little Botox. It was fine. It was no big deal. That was my plan. It didn't go very well, did it, babe?
Mm-mm.
So December 31st, 2019, I got some sneaky Botox. So, oh, are you getting nervous? Is it too loud?
It's like bottoming out over there.
Oh, okay. So, 24 hours later, we drove home. Oops, I bumped it now. So we drove home. You guys, we're going to figure this out. It's going to be okay. I promise. Nobody panic. So we were up in Utah. We drove as far as St. George that night and then got up first thing in the morning, drove the rest of the way home. We live in Arizona, the most wonderful place in the world. And we got home, got unpacked, got all settled. We were binge watching Survivor. We were on a kick, right, babe?
Yeah, it's funny we haven't watched it since that day.
Because I've been afraid it will trigger me. But I think we should
weird.
reclaim Survivor. I think it's time.
Hmm.
I'm pretty healed. Don't you think? I think.
Maybe.
So, yeah, we'll see. Well, yeah. I mean, not even we'll see, for sure. So, we're watching Survivor. And I all of a sudden start getting like these weird face melting feelings. Like my nervous system. I didn't even know the term nervous system. I mean, I did, but not really. at the time. But now knowing what I know, I was like having a lot of nervous system dysregulation. I was having these hot flushes. I was, what I like got kind of the shakes, and then my stomach bottomed out. Like my stomach felt really weird, like just lurched. And I like went into the bathroom, had some bathroom stuff going on, come back out, and I think to myself, oh my gosh, is this Botox? Like, is this because of the Botox? So I sneaky sneaks, because he doesn't know I got Botox. So I sneaky sneaks, start looking it up like on my phone and going, adverse reaction to Botox injection and da 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 da.
That was a great idea.
Don't Google things, you guys. Have someone who cares about you Google them. But well, no, but I was just skimming, and everything I was reading wasn't saying what I was dealing with. So I started getting more nervous. Then all of a sudden I got really sick, and I went and threw up in the bathroom. I was like dry heaving really violently, and it was just really, really rough. And then I was shaking really badly and really hot, tingly, like my face just felt like it was on fire. My skin felt like it was on fire. What else? So I came out, right? Probably after an hour. Was it maybe an hour? In and out. So I come out of the bathroom for the 10th time, and I'm like, I have something to tell you. And do you remember what I said? How I said it?
No, you just got Botox.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I said,
Oh, no, you said, I'm telling you this just in case you need to take me to the hospital. If I'm going to die, I need to tell you this. And I'm like, what? And you're like, yeah, I got Botox, and I might be having a reaction to it.
yeah. And oh my gosh, it was bad. So yeah, so that's what we said. And I tried to call my esthetician, and she was not answering texts or phone calls. She was just totally MIA. So like, I'm like, hey, is this normal? What's going on? But no answer. So then sadly, our next step was to go to Dr. Google. We both did. We were both trying to Google and figure stuff out. We now have a no Googling policy at our house for things like that. For me, Laura's not allowed to Google.
Especially late at night.
True.
Don't Google.
Mm-hmm. And so then we also found a Botox injury Facebook group that was absolutely terrifying.
You found that first.
Did I find it? I did it. I don't remember.
Yeah.
So
you found, I didn't even know about the group until much later.
Okay. So I'm reading that, and it was absolutely terrifying. There was even a woman on the Botox injury Facebook group saying that she had made plans to travel to a European country where euthanasia is legal and end her suffering, because it had been 5 years since she had had Botox, and it had completely derailed her system, and she was done. She just couldn't do it anymore. And so I'm sitting on my couch in my living room. My Christmas tree is still up. You know, we just got back in from our Christmas travels, and I literally realized, oh my gosh, I just ruined my life.
Not realized, but thought that.
Yes, I came to the decision in that moment. My mental state was, I just ruined my life. Like, I just destroyed my life. See, I get emotional, but it was bad. It was ugly. So, in that moment, you know, I just was. And then what was crazy is I remember my mind just racing and thinking, what have I done? This is irreversible. Everything I found said it's irreversible. Like as far as the Botox can't come out. You know, with certain types of filler and stuff, which I also don't get, by the way. I don't get anything ever again, ever. But filler, you know, if you have a reaction, they can inject a second thing that will dissolve the filler and just neutralize it in your system. That's not true for Botox. So as we researched it, we were like, oh my gosh, this is horrible. There's no undoing what I've done. And it was the most horrible feeling in the world. So I was very shaky and nauseous, uncomfortable, and my mouth was really, really dry. And then as I continued to read the horrible potential long-term side effects of this black box warning product, I did not read the black box warning.
There's a huge list of
oh my gosh.
Black box.
Also death. Yeah.
What do you want to explain what black box?
Yeah, a black box warning on any pharmaceuticals is the ultimate result can be death and debilitating injury, but death. So I wasn't, we do want to be really clear too for the podcast, I wasn't having an anaphylactic reaction. In that case, breathing, your respiration is arrested, and you need to be trached. You need to get a tracheotomy, and you're hospitalized for 4 to 6 months.
She did think that. She was in and out of the tub and just trying to regulate. And
yeah,
I remember she was in there and she said, like, well, I read on this group that I might need to get a trach and to help me breathe, because
Mhm.
I'm going down this road of botulism, and I was just like, what are you talking about? Like, this
Mhm.
is
So one of the side effects that can happen with Botox is it paralyzes your lungs for 4 to 6 months. So once the Botox becomes dormant in the system, you'll eventually be able to get the trach out. But that's one of the warning. That's one of the things I read about. And that's not what was happening to me. But obviously, I now had the fear. Now I was in full blown fight or flight. I went into shock basically, and so not basically, totally. I went into shock, and the symptoms of shock feel a lot like that. Like I was really struggling to breathe. My heart was beating out of my chest. I couldn't sit down. My adrenals were releasing such a high level of adrenaline, that I couldn't sit. Every time I sat down, it increased the
it,
adrenaline release to tell me to run.
it was constant panic attacks, like
Mm-hmm.
rolling panic attacks. So it was, if you ever had a panic attack, like usually they come on and then you're able to regulate and then they go away, but you're still dysregulated for a while. But this was constant, like
Mm-hmm.
every few minutes or seconds. It was just constant panic attack, one right after another.
Yeah.
And we think it was partly when she got the Botox in her forehead that it takes a while for it to fully kick in, where you basically can't move that part of your body. And so it sent her into a panic of, I can't move this, but basically, what if I need to move this, but I can't move this? This is irreversible. What have I done? And just down that spiral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it was crazy. So I did not sleep for 6 days and 6 nights
Or eat.
or eat. Yeah, that's true. I could not eat. And that's literally not an exaggeration. Like, oh, I tossed and turned and I dozed a little bit. No, I couldn't sit down. Therefore, I could not sleep. I walked. He would be out walking with me at like 3 in the morning. I would finally just be so upset, and I'd just say, can we go walk? Can we go walk, to try to burn off? Because my adrenals were constantly, what we would later find out is that I actually damaged my adrenal cortex. I had an inflammation response that damaged my adrenal cortex. So, spoiler alert, that's what was really happening. But we had no idea what was happening. I refused to get it in the car and go to the ER because our insurance had just lapsed on the 31st. We had left our job in Las Vegas and we had just moved to Arizona. So we had no family care provider, no doctor, because we had just moved to Arizona. Our insurance had just lapsed the day before. And I was not getting in the car and getting a $15,000 medical bill racked up on January 1st. I wasn't. And I know that that's a crazy now. And they probably could have. So with adrenal failure, I went into a short term adrenal failure, but
But you thought you were dying. Like many times she
yes,
would look at me and say, I'm dying. Like
because it's
I'm
panic.
having a heart attack.
Yeah.
My heart's going to explode. And it was just constant panic. And so that's when I was like, go to the hospital. Like,
And
but
I would
then,
say, but what's funny is even in the depths of despair, I was like, we're not going to the
yeah,
hospital. Like, I'm not doing that because they won't. And I also have
every,
a deep mistrust of doctors. So I'm like, they can't
well,
help me anyway.
everything we read too was that if you're having panic attacks, that they really don't do much for you there anyway. So
Yeah. So I just 6 days and 6 nights, no eating, no sleeping. Kyle got on and Googled what to do when someone can't eat. And he found out about honey water, like putting honey in warm water. Honey.
honey,
Mm-hmm.
I
Sorry.
forgot about the honey water.
Yeah. And so honey had, I forget, do you remember? It had a compound in it. Like the molecular structure of honey is really nourishing to the system. And back in the day of hunter gatherer time, like finding honey was amazing. It was a calorie overload. It was this incredible, deeply nutritious, highly caloric intake that a hunter gatherer, your body would just love that. So it was a way to get my body to try to get my body into rest and digest. I was absolutely in constant fight or flight. And honey water was the only thing I could get down and keep down. Literally could not chew, could not swallow. My mouth was completely dry, like a cotton ball, like dry.
Well, it was also where your stomach wouldn't.
Receive anything.
Yeah, and you
Mm-hmm.
you weren't hungry because your
Mm-mm.
body was, when you're in fight or flight, it it puts hunger to the back burner because it's you don't need to eat. You need to run or fight. or freeze, I guess, is another thing. But
well, and it arrests digestion. It does, because it's like we don't have time. It'll empty contents, which that happened to me right at the beginning. I was like, I have to empty my stomach, and I both ways I emptied my stomach, but then I could not put anything new in because that fight or flight was so prevalent that I couldn't do it. So I lost 25
no
pounds.
appetite.
No.
Like yeah.
No. And I had a desire to eat. I knew that this is wrong. I was like,
yeah, you thought, oh, I need to eat, but you
couldn't.
Yeah, there was no desire or hunger or anything.
It was so scary. It was scary. That's an understatement. So I was sipping on warm honey water to assist in sending signals of safety to my system. We could not get into a doctor. We were in a new area, as I mentioned, and it was the beginning of a new year. And following Christmas, everyone's sick. Everyone's eating a crap ton of sugar. They've been with all the family in these intimate, close gatherings in households. Everyone is sick. And so doctors were booked out weeks in advance. We finally did have a friend of a friend who got a doctor in our local area to see me after hours. Like, he agreed to let me come in as, like, tack me on as the last patient of the day.
It was actually a Sunday. We were walking and he called us because he was, one of our friends in the area had told him what was going on. And so he called me while we were walking, and I just told him everything that was going on. And he said, oh, well, yeah, you can come in, but it's Sunday. We're not open. We can try some different things, but a really good thing that has the same compounds as, because we were at a point when it was just like, we need anything, and like, just give us something, give us a magic pill, give us like a Xanax, like all this stuff,
Anything. And we even texted some friends. Do you have Xanax?
Yeah, we were
Do you
texting
have Valium? We know this is illegal. Nobody took us up on it.
At that point, it was like we didn't care.
Were like, and we couldn't get into a doctor, so we're like, does anyone have a Xanax that we can take to see if it'll let Laura
or Valium or
be
anything,
able to see if it'll shut her brain off so she'll stop panicking? Because I was just pacing, and I mean, we're day 3, day 4, so we 100%. We didn't. No one took us up on it, but we were like,
it was
at our wits. We didn't know what to do.
He told us that Dramamine has some of the same compounds in Valium, and so
Dramamine, you guys.
Yeah, we actually had a friend come over, and she was staying with us because I was in and out of trying to sleep, but not sleeping, and so she came over and stayed with Laura while I got sleep, and then she went to the store and
bought everything.
Yeah,
Nikki is an
grocery
angel.
shopping for us.
Nikki and Laura. By the way, I'm Laura, but I have another best friend named Laura. We're Laura squared.
We had many friends actually that came over and sat with her. Because
Darcy.
It was.
I mean, no, I had and Jenny, and I mean, I had and April. I have I can go on and on. Angie, I can go on and on and on. But
many friends.
Nikki swooped in. Intense angel level, got a bunch of Dramamine, and Nikki doesn't do anything halfway. So like, she bought like 3 bottles of Dramamine. She
went shopping for us,
bought us a ton of groceries because Kyle could not leave my side. So Nikki swooped in and just.
Here's the thing. It got to a point when you don't sleep for 6 days and eat, and you're not quite there, where she would look at me and say like I don't know if I could do this anymore. Like, I don't want to kill myself, but my mind is going there if I'm by myself.
Mm-hmm. So he was, I knew that I had to warn him that I couldn't be left alone.
Yeah.
Because I didn't trust myself to be left alone. And I had no desire, like I said, to end things. But at the same time, I didn't see how it was sustainable. And it got way worse before it got better too. But like so Nikki was incredible. So she came in, we got on Dramamine, right? And then we went in to see the doctor the day of Monday. Because, because he fit us in, he tacked us in. He called Kyle on Sunday and said, hey, here's some tips, but I'll tack her in, on the end of my day. So when we got into him, I had told him my theory. Kyle alluded to it a little bit, but I said, is it because my forehead's paralyzed? Do you think that my brain is panicking? Because it's like, if you've been bit by a snake or a scorpion, if you've been bit by something with a paralytic venom, is this my body being in a constant state of fight or flight to warn me that I'm paralyzed in my forehead? And my doctor was like, actually, that's plausible. I don't know that. He's like, I've never heard that theory before, but that would make sense. And he prescribed anti-nausea medication, like a heavy duty. Mm-hmm. There were 2 different ones. I don't remember, but anyway, and that was incredible. That actually started getting us somewhere.
Did he do a steroid?
He didn't do a steroid yet because we didn't know it was adrenal. We weren't realizing, spoiler alert, it was a major cortisol problem. My body wasn't making, it was overproducing adrenaline and it wasn't producing cortisol. But he did Valium for sleep and he did an anti-nausea med to start. And so we started on that. But I will say that for the first time, on the 7th day when I went to the doctor, I was actually able to sit in the appointment.
Yeah, the Dramamine helped. I think that was the first night that you slept.
I slept a little bit before the appointment.
Yeah, and Dramamine also is like it has a drowsy
and anti-nausea, so it has a drowsy effect. So Dramamine's a good go-to for over-the-counter aid in a crisis like this for sure, which I wish we would have known sooner. But yeah, so he I don't know if he gave me better instructions on this at the time and I just didn't absorb any of it. It's entirely possible because I was up in the night, but I took one Valium every night at bedtime. But what I learned later is that you should not do that. You should not take it back to back on a consistent basis, on a regular basis, because
many people do. That's the thing, especially in the U.S. It's something that many people take it daily as just a.
But what we're finding now is benzodiazepines are a forced dependency drug. And in some countries, you're not even allowed to prescribe more than 2 to 3 for emergencies. Like if you're on an airplane and you have a panic attack, you have like a pill bottle with 3. You can take 1 for a panic attack. But it's not recommended. Public service announcement, because I wish I would have known this ahead of time, because this is a whole other part of the story, right? But yeah, so I just took it every night. And so after that, we got home from the doctor. And that night, with the help of sleep medication, I finally slept through the night. And you guys, when I say when I woke up and it was light outside, because I would try to sleep and could not sleep.
Well, she also had something called
sundowners.
Yeah.
And that got worse later. But yeah.
But you
absolute terror of nighttime.
Yeah.
Because I know that I'm just going to suffer all night. I know sleep's not going to come, and I'm going to know that I need him to sleep. I need him to be I need Kyle to function. I need for things to be okay. And so I would just get horrified, worried, so desperately worried at night as the sun went down. But I slept through the night, and it was the best feeling ever. I literally woke up in the morning and just cried. And he was sleeping in our guest bedroom. He's just left me and I could come and get him anytime, but I'm like, you go try to sleep. And if I have to pace or try to do some yoga, do something.
Many times she would come and get me.
Yes, I would totally go get him if I needed him. But otherwise, I'm like, you have to sleep. One of us has to sleep. We are parents to 2 children. Like someone has to sleep. So I slept through the night and I woke up and just the tears of joy, the absolute joy, exhilaration, the relief, and just the healing to my brain. If you know about sleep, it causes active brain damage to get 0 sleep for 6 days. It was really, really, really hard on my whole system, right? So, sorry, and I have notes. I have an outline because I don't want to forget to tell you guys the really important nugget. So I was crying for joy, and for the next 10 days, I was in the craziest state of euphoria. This is
Yes. She's like, I want to tell everybody about my journey and just and
I was having visions.
She was that everything was all better. But it wasn't.
No, but I experienced bliss. So it's I had been in the deepest state of horrific pain and just boiling agony. So not to you guys, that sounds so dramatic. Words cannot accurately describe.
Those that have gone through it will understand.
Know. Yeah, you guys know. Any of you have been through this.
If you haven't gone through it, it's hard to describe and have people understand what she went through. I explain it to people now and they're like, oh, that sounds tough. And it's yes.
The most hideous, most worstest.
It was tough. Yes.
With an ST. Hideousest. It was hideous. And so I was in this state of euphoria. In fact, it's interesting. I've had multiple clients who have used mushrooms to facilitate their healing. And when I talk to people who've done psilocybin or shrooms of any kind, I'm like, oh yeah, I've totally done that. But my brain just did it by itself after 7 days of absolute trauma.
Yeah,
Um,
she started hallucinating different things
mm.
and
Well, and I just was pure love and peace and joy. I honestly feel like an entire the stress, the part of my brain that stresses out and worries, I feel like it was so exhausted and run into the ground that it just took a vacation for 10 days. And I truly experienced euphoria. I truly experienced pure love, like love for everyone. People who have really hurt me in my life and done horrible betrayal level things to me, and I haven't been able to forgive them, and I've wanted to forgive them. I'm like, I forgive them. I love them, and I still forgive them. The forgiveness stuck. Um, I wish I didn't have to go through what I did to get that. I would have preferred a different way, but it's fine. I'll take what I can get. But yeah, so euphoria. In fact, we were even in a bookstore at one point, and I told, like, I would like want to go up to people. This woman was struggling with all of her kids, and they were being crazy, and I just like wanted to go up to her and be like, "You're doing it, Mama. You got this, and your soul is good. You can't even see your goodness." Like the things that I would want, like Kyle would just have to be there, dear. Okay, no, let's get in the car. You
they're
sound
fine.
wild.
Or like people like a bullet biker on the freeway.
I
And like
forgot that.
you I forget what you said. Usually like if a bullet biker's going like crazy through all the you're like, like what are you
What a
doing? Like
jerk.
just calm down and but
Or I'll be like, oh, somebody's more important than everyone else on the road. When it, like entitled drivers are cutting people off or ripping around, I'm like, oh, look, we found a driver who's more important than everyone else on the road. I get very like facetious. And I was like, oh, bless you. Oh my gosh, I pray for that he'll be safe.
I just hope he's safe. Oh,
Oh, be
um,
safe,
oh
sweetheart.
no,
What would I say? I
I
did say something
don't. But
really
I was like,
funny. And Kyle's like, who are you?
okay.
It was so crazy. It was amazing. But it was beautiful, you guys. And it was real. I truly experienced. And what I tell people to this day is like, none of this is, oops, I bumped the mic, sorry. None of this is real, and all of this is real. This is totally real, and it's not real at all. And I don't know how to explain it better than that, but I lived that for 10 days. But I was also just so grateful. The gratitude was incredible. I just loved harder. I felt deeper. And I would just take a Valium every night at bedtime, sleep, and would sleep through the whole night. And I might wake up jolted a little bit, but I could go right back to sleep. Oh, I was so grateful. I've never been more grateful for every single thing, like the air that I breathed, just everything. It was over the top. And I loved it. It was cool. But so after those 10 days of bliss, I stopped taking the Valium nightly because I was like, I'm through it. Like I don't need to take this anymore. I'm solid.
Did you?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
Yeah. So
For how long though?
well, that's the next part of the story. Look, Kyle and I get to retell this story to each other. It's been a long time now. Yeah, so I stopped taking the Valium. And I went to get in the car to pick our kids up from school, and it had been about 36 hours since my last dose, maybe 48. And I triggered into a massive panic attack. I fired up the ignition. I remember I was on the phone with my friend Darcy. She was just checking in on me. And I fired up the car, and all of a sudden, face melting panic symptoms. Just my whole nervous system fired up. I felt tingle, like hot fire tingles down my whole spine, which then spread to my skin. I felt like my skin was on fire. And I just was filled with this deep feeling of dread and just deep fear. And oh no, I'm not better. Oh no. But it had been 10 days of like good. And so I told Darcy, I'm so sorry. Let me call you back. I just triggered into a panic attack. I have to go. And literally, I was probably just on the phone with her. Like, it's great. I'm so happy. I'm doing amazing. Darce, it's so good. And like crashed. So called Kyle. He was just driving home from an appointment, or somewhere. You were, yeah.
I think I was at a meeting.
You were at a meeting because you weren't doing any appointments. And I was like, I feel good. Yeah, go to a meeting. You can do it, right? So he was just coming off the freeway, and I said, oh my gosh, babe, I just triggered into the hugest panic attack. I'm freaking out. Can you go get the kids? Because I was leaving to get the kids, and their school's like 7 minutes away. There wasn't much time. He said, actually, it's perfect. I'm right down the street. I can get them. I said, okay. And I ran back into my bed and took a Valium and just sat there shaking. The Valium kicked in within like 15 minutes. And then Kyle got home, and I just burst into tears. And I said, oh my gosh, I'm not better. I'm not better. I don't know where we go from here. So what the best we can figure is what I had. The first thing was, so yeah, let's recap really fast so people are following. The Botox triggered an inflammation response in my body. And that inflammation response caused damage to my adrenal cortex, which inflamed my adrenals, and then they stopped working properly. So the upper adrenal cortex was dumping adrenaline, and my lower was not producing. So I was getting all this adrenaline, but the cortisol that's supposed to come in and balance that out was not happening. So that is what was going on with the panic and the fight or flight. I was like stuck in fight or flight, like high gear. It finally re-regulated, and the Valium helped soothe my system. But after a trauma like that, your body then goes into a trauma response similar to PTSD. So PTSD is where, you basically think I'm going to die. Then you are not to die. You don't die, but your body felt like it was going to. So being held at gunpoint, being in war.
Really, PTSR is what they call it.
Yes, I love that.
It's a post-traumatic stress response. So it's the thoughts of, oh no, this is going to happen again. You're responding to what your body's doing, and then it sends you down that path again.
Yeah. And so I had an alarm in my brain now saying, you're not safe. You're not safe. You're not safe. But then at that point too, what I didn't realize is I had created a benzodiazepine dependency to Valium. So now my body needed the Valium to not have panic or anxiety. And Valium, Xanax, clonazepam, lorazepam, all of the benzo family, that's what they do. And that's what a lot of people don't understand is if you don't take them, they will cause you to have the anxiety. So your brain's asking for it. Your brain's saying, oh, hey, you forgot to take this. So it'll ask by using anxiety. So it was multiple things at that point, which we did not know. We did not understand. So I was so distraught, disappointed, and scared. So after a few days of really struggling again, because the trauma response had set in, we got back into the doctor. And this time he prescribed an SSRI. Lexapro is what he put me on. And because I thought, oh, great, now I have an anxiety disorder. I have it. And he's like, this is good for anxiety and depression. And so we were tapering onto that. I don't know if tapering is the right word, but like I was easing onto it because you take a lower dose and then ease up to the full dose. And that
was the second time that our friend Laura came out to visit, because she came out the first time and we were taking her to the airport when you saw the bullet biker, when you were like coming out of it. And then we went through a good time. I
remember her coming out twice.
Yeah.
Did she come out for the first? No, because the first batch, she came out for the Lexapro batch. That's when she came out.
That was the second time she came out. Oh my gosh.
Sorry, Laura, I forgot that you did twice. Yeah. I thought Nikki did the first watch and Laura did the second watch. Well, yes. Sorry.
Everybody was in and out, yes.
Yes. Kyle's like, the whole community rallied.
Yeah. She came back for that because she was tapering onto it, which by this point we had known about the side effects and different things that that what we were in for going onto it.
Yeah, and it was horrible. So as I eased onto the SSRI, I slipped into a crippling depression. And it was black hole level emptiness. It was like the darkest. I've never felt that low, that dark, that empty. The sadness, numbness, fear. I don't even know how you can feel that desperately sad and heartbroken and numb at the same time. But I promise you guys, you can feel all of it at the same time. And it is like the worst feeling on the planet.
We used to go in our backyard. Like before that, I would like help her. And then we would like be in the backyard and like nothing. It was just like she would just sit there and just, yeah, the feeling was very, very low.
And how were you feeling?
Yeah, it was.
What were your thoughts during that time?
Yeah, I was feeling very discouraged, very just blah, like nothing. But
yeah,
my feelings really didn't matter through all of this. It was
that's what. See, did you guys notice that when I just asked him what his feelings were, he doesn't know because he was like, "Oh, Kyle didn't exist. Kyle had to stop existing. Kyle couldn't have needs." He talked about himself in the third person. Just kidding.
I did?
No, I'm totally joking. Like... I'm talking that way. I'm like, Kyle has needs. Kyle doesn't. No, I'm kidding. No, but he literally shut that off, and we'll have a whole episode about that too. But he had some healing, and I think he still does.
Oh yes, yes. I haven't dealt with that for sure.
Yeah, and yeah, we've had a few bumps in the road where he's been so exhausted or so just like numb or paralyzed. And he's like, I don't know why I can't just, I know what I need to do. I don't know why I just can't do it. And I'm like, I know why. It's because you were completely traumatized as the person you love most in the world was about dying for about a year. And he could not have any needs or, yeah.
When you're going through something, like you're dealing with it, you're going through it. But when someone that you love is going through something and you literally can't do anything, it's just like being there is what you're doing, and like doing stuff like cooking, cleaning, taking care of the kids, like that, but like not being able to physically
fix it.
Yeah, it just was enduring it is what it was. But
and that's what I say all the time. Like, what I went through was the most hideous, horrible. I keep on adding an ST on my hideous. I don't mean to. I'm like tired or something.
Hideous.
It was hideous. It reminds me of Tennyson when he was little. He said so many things with just like slightly off, and I feel like I'm channeling Tennyson right now. But it was horrible for me. But I say up and down all the time, it was worse for Kyle. Because I cannot imagine going through what I was like. If Kyle or one of our boys was going through this, knowing how painful it was, but knowing that I can only do what I can do to help them, it is the hardest thing in the world. So anyway, you'll notice that about Kyle. Like he's gonna have to, but yeah, he's the most amazing, selfless person anyway. And so he was uniquely equipped to deal with this. And I say to this day, like, we are ride or die forever. We are the ultimate, we are the original ride or die. I hear teenagers using that, oh yeah, he's my ride or die. I'm like, no. Wait till you get married and your wife has a complete physiological breakdown in every sense of the word, and then we'll decide if somebody's your ride or die. But
I've heard that they've taken out the line in getting married.
In sickness and in health?
Yeah, I've heard that, but I don't know if it's true. But that was for sure.
I feel like
I never had the thought that, I'll just leave her, but I've heard people like, oh, this is too much,
Oh yeah, people literally leave people in the middle of their cancer diagnosis, in the middle of horrible health challenges.
It's probably why it was in there, or is in there.
Yeah, like when everything's not all sunshine and roses, which I'm sorry, let's be real, being married to me, I don't think it's ever been sunshine and roses. But we're best friends. Like, I feel like we have a very passionate and meaningful bond, but
yeah,
we're just figuring out how to like live our best lives, huh, babe? Which is why we're excited about this podcast, because I feel like we've learned so much.
Yeah, it's definitely been one of those experiences that we wouldn't be where we are now and doing the things that we're doing now if we hadn't gone through that. But there's much more to that. That definitely was tip of the iceberg. But
yeah. Okay, so we'll jump in. Sorry. And that's what this may have to be, a two-parter too. It really might, because it's a lot. I know. What's our time? Yeah, maybe.
What time is it?
It's 2:29. So should we? And well, I guess it's fine. We're probably not going to edit this, huh? It's too long. So you guys just enjoy being in this candid conversation. We're not going to edit it. So so black hole. Well, here are my notes. I had black hole level emptiness, sadness, numbness, and fear, and I started losing entire gaps of time and having blackouts. Short-term memory loss. Kyle had to start administering all of my medications because I would take them and then not remember whether or not I took them. Like 5 minutes later, I wouldn't remember. And so he would have to count pills and try to figure out if I had taken a dose that day. And whenever I would do this, whenever I would take it and then not remember, or not take it and not know whether or not I had, it would trigger a panic attack, because I was afraid to go without my medication, because I was wholeheartely expecting my medication to control my symptoms. And then at the same time, I was terrified of taking too much of it. And so Kyle had to completely take over all of my dosages and my whole schedule. So I felt so broken, and I had so much guilt still to the minute. And he assured me time and time again, like, it's fine. Like, you made a mistake. You could not have known it would do this. I love you. I'm here for you. But I just would cry and say, I'm so sorry for getting Botox. I'm so sorry for being such a huge burden. And he was like, you are not a burden. He never made me feel like a burden, but I 100% beat myself up for a long time over that. So,
well, it was a lot of and I explained this to people, and it was hard to explain, but it was many times one step forward, two steps back. Like she would have a good day, and then it was like, and she would think like, oh, I'm getting better, like I'm going down the right path, and then the next day have a bad day, but it would set her back even further of, I'm never going to get better again. Like this is my new reality, and it's just going to be the worst.
I'm so glad you remember to say that because I don't have that in our outline, but that is such an important part, you guys. If you have someone who is going through this, it is two steps forward or one step forward, two steps back, three, four steps back.
Sometimes, but then you would have days where you would have
a couple steps forward.
Yeah, two steps forward and then one step back, and that's
for sure.
Going the right way, but definitely the thoughts of I'm never going to be normal again, like that was a constant thing.
Pervasive. Well, and that's for sure. I definitely thought that I was scarred for life. Like I'm broken forever. Like this can never be better. This is now a quote new normal, and we're just going to have to deal with it. And my kids are going to have an invalid for a mom. Yeah.
I did this to myself.
And this is what I deserve. This is what I get now.
Yeah, it's and this is going to be my life.
But also, I will say, when you talk about the one step forward, two steps back, I do have to say that when you're suffering to the degree that I was suffering and how painful, how painful it was, when you experience relief for a moment, it's like so delicious to you that then when it's taken away again, it's just more than you can bear. Like, see I get emotional talking about that.
It's like, even more crushing because you thought you were getting better.
You had a glimpse of like peace, and then it's like gone.
It's the same thing with like sickness, when people have chronic sicknesses where it's like, I'm feeling better, I'm getting better, and then like, oh no, I'm not, and I'm never going to get better again. It's that much more discouraging.
Yeah.
Because you thought you were getting better.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that much emotion to come up, but it's going to be a vulnerable one, you guys. But I now work with clients, and I've worked with so many women who are in my same situation, not always through Botox injury, but dysregulated nervous system, like panic cycles, insomnia, and they always go through that cycle. That's why I'm so glad you remember to say it. Like they're like, I'm doing so much better, I slept, and then the next time I hear from them, they're like, I am having so much anxiety, I'm not progressing at all. I'm like, no, your system is learning how to stop doing this, but it learns how to progress out of it by dipping back into it. It's like this ebb and flow for a while. And so it's really, really easy to lose hope and like be discouraged.
But also, I think one of the biggest parts was having others that have gone through this say, and I don't know if you have this in here, but say like, no, like you will get better, you will get through this. I've been there, I've gone through it, I had the same thoughts, but you will come through this. And just having the hope of somebody that had gone through it tell you that you will get better was something to hold on to.
Absolutely. That I think, and that's why I did tell, when I was in my 10 days of euphoria, well, and then afterwards too, I've said to you for years now, we have to do a podcast, we have to tell our story. People have to know this. They have to know that like you can heal from this.
You can get better.
Because there was a long time when I didn't think I could.
You will get better. Yeah, and I think that's a lot of like the suicidal thoughts of,
if this is going to be what it's going to be, then why? Yeah.
Having those thoughts of, I can't live like this. And I'm sure people have, those that do that, that is what they're going through, of I'm never going to be better again. I'm never going to, feel right again, or whatever it may be. But there is hope, there is help. And there are those that, reaching out for help for one, and like going and getting help also. Because it's one thing is like when we were put in the situation, it was sort of like, what do we do? Okay, we Google, and then you go to the doctors, and then like nothing's working, and it's just constantly trying to find something.
Oh man, yeah, the runaround is wild.
and anything and everything.
Mm.
Like at one point, I remember she went to go get, what's that called? The needles. Acupuncture. And like she came home and she's like, oh, it was great. Like I feel great. And then like the neck or that night or something, like she had a panic attack. She's like, was it the needles? Like everything is like, was it this? Was it, is that why
I
you did
became
it?
afraid of everything because my system was so dysregulated that I was constantly afraid
Yeah.
of harming it or throwing myself off.
Yeah.
Oh, like nonstop. But I do want to say really quickly on that note, because I think that this is really important for people to hear. So I have a friend from Las Vegas, and she was more of an acquaintance. Like we lived in the same neighborhood. She was a school teacher at a local high school. And you guys, this woman is amazing. And I will leave them private for their own, but she's an incredible woman. And I've always admired her and looked up to her. And she's widowed with little kids. And so she's like the sole breadwinner. She's like backpacking through Europe with her kids during the summer because she's a teacher. So she has summers off. She saves money. She does all this extra. She's incredible. And she's just vibrant and outgoing. And she's a dance teacher and runs a dance program. And she is just the most, I would say, like the words to describe her are competent, confident, capable. Why the C words? All the good, happy C words.
Triple C right there.
Yeah. Competent, confident, capable, compassionate, all the things. She's so
Wow.
good. But she's just one of those women. She just was so incredible. And someone that anyone from the outside looking in would just deeply admire this woman. She reached out to me privately when we'd shared a little bit about the fact that I was going through panic, and we didn't tell everybody why or the wherefores of everything, but
yeah, like we put it on Facebook. Like she's like, I think we need to ask for
prayers.
Yeah, on Facebook. Like
yeah, and that was huge too.
That was
That was in the early days.
Did you put that on there?
I didn't.
Oh.
See? And that, like, yeah, that's what we need to, like, and I want this to meander and just go where it needs to go because I think there are so many points in this. But, yeah.
We for sure should do a part 2.
Oh, we're going to have to, for sure.
Yeah. But finish telling about this.
But yes. And so, yeah, then we'll remember. Kyle has a memory like a steel trap. So he'll remember to talk about the Facebook post. But this friend saw that post and she reached out to me privately and she said, I just want you to know, verbatim, I've gone through what you've gone through, like the insomnia, the panic attacks,
what you're going through.
And what you're going through. Yeah, what I'm going through. I've gone through it. And she said, it will get better. You will heal. I see, I would cry saying that too. And like because it was like manna in the freaking desert for me. It was like, what? You did this? Like, and I'm looking at her life, and this happened to her possibly when she lost her husband. I don't know. But whenever this happened for her, she's backpacking through Europe with her kids as a single mom. She's incredible. And I thought, if she went through this and now she's living the life she's living, then there's hope. And then same thing, I have a good friend in Utah. Again, she's incredible. She's developed her own app to help parents connect with their kids. And she goes on the news and teaches parents how to connect with their kids and like mommy blogger type stuff and all the crafting and homemaking and home design. She is one of those people. She can do everything. She's just so remarkable and the friendliest, and she has a million friends and everyone loves her. She sent me the same thing. Oh, I went through this in 2018. You'll get through it. I promise. It's the darkest, heaviest thing. And again, a woman that I respect so profoundly, that I love so deeply and have so much admiration for. And so those two women.
Well, there was many more like that. I remember being in the bathroom and again, she was in and out of the tub, like trying everything. Like when you're going through panic and these cycles, it was like trying. So I remember you'd be in there for like 2 minutes and like have to get up and start walking, and it didn't work. And I just bumped the mic. Look at that. So, but we put it on Facebook, just a little about what she was going through and just asked people for, their prayers. And it was, people just also wrote on Facebook.
We invited them to share quotes and
your most inspirational quotes or things that have helped you.
Because I couldn't scroll social media. So my panic was so bad that if I happened upon a Botox ad, it would trigger. I snapped. It would trigger.
Or anything. It was just like, and so I would sit in there and just read all of these comments that people had wrote, and both of us are just like crying,
bawling,
and like it was such a help. Sometimes you don't want to put stuff out there that you're going through, which sometimes you shouldn't, but also asking for help and support, and not try to just go through it by
Alone.
yourself, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was something that really helped. But so many people, so many stories, and I'm sure we have a lot more people.
We could do like an entire podcast. We should maybe go back and find that post and just read them. Well, we should maybe do that for a podcast because it is just like a load of dosages of some of the best quotes in the world. But I did want to add, like, that was like such a sacred time. And I'll say that, like, suffering is so ugly, but like it opens the door for such beautiful connection. And I also found that anything that would make me cry would alleviate the anxiety. Do you remember that? I would have
weird,
a big
yeah.
cry. Like if something would, whether I cry from sadness too, there were times when I would break down and cry out of just like total despair, but I would feel better. And I've learned, like, they've now said that tears actually heal you. Tears actually release hormones and chemicals to heal you and to help you. So like all the time, one of my biggest, I'm a huge advocate for feel your feelings, also feel anger. I'll work with my clients all the time and be like, well, wait, before we try to make logical sense of this, have you just given yourself room to feel it? But I remember sitting in the bathtub, um, Kyle would sit up on the counter and read to me, and like we'd go in between the two of us reading these messages, and just whoever wasn't more too choked up, we'd have to take time. So it was really powerful.
Yeah. And I think that was like the start of her coming out of it, like really having the thoughts of, okay, that's when the one step forward, two steps back stopped cycling. Is when you had something to hold on to, like, okay, these people went through it, but they're okay now. Like, I will get better. And just having those thoughts, even though sometimes you wonder, will I get better? Like, is this, will I really get better? But going back to, yes, okay, they went through it. Like, I will get better. But anyway, let's stop part one. But coming on part two, we're going to talk about my first day back at work. What happened? There's something that happened my first day going back to work. And the first time she was left alone, really. And something pretty major happened. And then we're going to talk about, getting on and off of
all the things. All the things.
Pills and stuff.
Oh, you guys, there's such a story.
And then finding someone that ultimately helped break the cycle, and through a certain type of therapy, and
everything really aligned for us. But it was a mixed bag, right? And that's why we've meant to do this podcast for a long time. We're like, we've got to do this so that we can get all the pieces together and people can understand how they fit, because it looks like this huge laundry list of things to do. But
things not to do, I think, is what
that too.
Well, because now looking back on everything, I can't tell you how many people have reached out to both of us and really like, hey, this is what I'm going through. What can I do? And how many people that Laura has been able to help get through without all of the big laundry list that we went through, and the ups and downs of everything, and the mistakes that we made, the shortcut to getting better, basically.
To how to get better fast instead of going down the wrong path and then trying to course correct. Because medication is amazing for those who are dealing with the issues that those medications address. It's really tricky when you take mental health medications for an adrenal problem.
Or something's happening in your body.
Yeah.
Which I will say the majority, also they're showing now a lot in science that the majority of people thinking that they have different mental things, that it's actually certain minerals that you're missing in your body too.
Yeah, it's minerals. It can be hormones out of balance. It can be adrenal. And there's the triangle. I learned about the triangle when I was going through all of this, but your adrenals, okay, so, and it doesn't matter at which point, but you have adrenals at one point, you have your sex hormones like estrogen and progesterone and testosterone, and you have your thyroid. And those three things ping, ping, ping off of each other. Okay. So those are the 3 points of the triangle. And when one thing gets off, multiple things, like it can throw everything else off.
They're also showing gut bacteria is part of that.
Yeah,
That
absolutely.
a lot of things aren't mental problems, actually, that your gut is out of whack too.
And so we're huge advocates for the right medication for the right issue. That's all we're saying. We're not saying no to anything and yes to anything else. We're saying the right thing for the right issue. But doctors are finally understanding how big adrenals are as far as a puzzle piece goes. And your adrenals literally affect everything else. So when you dump enough adrenaline and you don't have cortisol to come in and counterbalance it, you will feel like you are dying. You will feel like there's an emergency. And your body is meant, like, we're designed to respond with, with action, with running away, with fight or flight, freeze, fawn, all of the, panic symptoms, or responses. But yeah, so, and we're so excited. So yeah, so come back. We'll talk some more.
If you want to be continued.
Yes.
When we were kids, there was TV shows and they would say to be continued. And it was literally another week before you got to hear the rest of, or not hear, but like see the rest of the story.
And we'll actually release this back to back, I would say.
Yeah, we won't put this out before.
Yeah, we'll just release it all together. But I did want to say this is brought to you by BecauseTheWorldNeeds.com.
Oh, yes.
And so
they're our sponsor.
Our sponsor is BecauseTheWorldNeeds.com. Hint, it's us. We're our own sponsor. You're welcome. So
there's many things on there that we're going to keep building a library and just keep expanding it, but to help all facets of life. It's going to be
for everyone. But truly, if you're dealing with any level of anxiety, panic, or you have a desire to just build a more powerful, meaningful life for yourself, it's all about that. Relationships. It's going to have an entire hypnosis library. I'm a certified hypnotist. It's going to have a full affirmation library. Affirmations get the worst bad rap, and it's such a joke. Yes, affirmations by themselves aren't going to change everything. Affirmations absolutely do so much to help rewire your brain and your system.
You basically, when the whole 1 step forward, 2 steps back thing, when that reversed, was really an affirmation of having those people say, you're going to get better. It's okay. You're going to get through this. That was somebody saying it, but also echoing in your mind the affirmation of like, when things went bad, okay, it's bad, but
your mind is so powerful. Like
so much. And like, health and fitness, we're gonna have some stuff for teens, for parents.
Yep. So all forms of relationships. So we're going to do a lot of relationship stuff within our own marriage relationship and how to strengthen that. I feel like April will be our 23rd year of marriage.
22nd.
No, 23rd. We're in our 22nd because we got married in 2001. Maths. What? So April of 2024 minus 2001, 23. Oh, hate to make you wrong in front of all of these 8 viewers, babe, but that just happened.
8.
I forgot how old I am now, and I do forget how many years we're married, but we're currently in our 22nd year of marriage. April will be our 23rd. And you guys.
Michael Jordan, 23?
23. It's going to be our year, babe. What's Shaq's number? I don't know his number. That's so embarrassing. You guys were obsessed with Shaq. We are totally going to do a podcast all about Shaq. Because we're obsessed with Shaq.
Shaq Fu.
Shaq Fu, shut up, liar.
We used to listen to his album when I was in high school.
Kyle was a fan. He had his whole album. He knows his whole rap.
We
love Shaq.
Come back and I'll rap it for you.
Yeah, you can come back for part 2.
I won't rap it on part 2, but sometime
I
might.
At some point, you will just have to come to every. Oops, I bumped the mic. Sorry, guys. You'll have to come to every
32.
episode.
His number was 32.
He was the reverse of MJ? No way. I don't even like basketball, but I like Shaq. I don't even care about Michael Jordan, but I totally care about Shaq.
He's done a lot of great things, and
yes.
Yeah.
I'm not being facetious, you guys. I love Shaq. I'm a fan. I think he's a darn sweetie. That's what I call him. Our goal is to get him on the podcast.
Can you imagine him sitting in one of these chairs?
In one of these chairs in our tiny little house in Arizona. Oh my gosh. Dream.
Yes.
It's going to happen. So you guys tag Shaq in this. If you're watching this on YouTube, do @Shaq.
He's gonna start up this, like, if he gets tagged and start, like, he's gonna be like, why are people tagging me? Because we don't talk about it till the very end. He's gonna have to watch the whole thing.
Tag Shaq and then put the minute stamp of whatever this is. Okay, so if it's like minute 53.08, tell Shaq 5308 Shaq.
It's 106 right now.
106 something. It'll be a little bit different from that because we started early. Like we'll cut off our randomness of trying to get in our chairs and stuff. But you guys, we're so excited. Check out becausetheworldneeds.com. The other thing about that is right now, for a limited time, we were designing this to be like a premium personal development, mental health and wellness, physical health and wellness, just like the one-stop shop for high level, care. What are the words? Like, it's such a big passion thing for me. I'm like, all the words.
Passion project.
Me. But it was going to be this really, really high level, high end, like $295 a month for all of these things. And you get all of the, the coaching and support that you need. And we were like, we want to help as many people as we can help. And we don't want pay to be a huge barrier. So we are going to have right now, while we're onboarding, we have a $25 monthly subscription, which opens up a massive chunk of our library to you.
Yeah. We are going to have a free, you can sign up for free and have a little free part. Yes. But it's so you can come in and still get help. And
experience it and see what you think. But then we also will have $25. And that will be this whole library. And it'll be a weekly group mentoring session with both of us, like where we're at the mic and we're taking live questions from Zoom clients that are able, and you can come on anonymously. We're so excited about you're going to be able to come on anonymously and interview or like ask us what you want to ask us about. And you can also come on with your face too if you don't have a problem with it. But
you're telling me.
Yes, you can do it.
I could come on with my face?
I don't want you to look at, like, I get awkward when I look at a camera. I'm like,
should we make
my hands go like this? I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So when, for a limited time, you have the opportunity. No.
Should we put like a
face Shaq? Should we put a Shaq
like
build out
behind talking to Shaq Fu?
To my Shacky Poo. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I'm really, really excited about it, but it'll basically be, people will be able to come on for live Q&A and share it, but you can do it anonymously or with your face.
And we'll talk more about this later. And
we'll talk about it, but that's the gist. Go check out becausetheworldneeds.com. It also currently has, you can schedule a private one-on-one with myself or Kyle. You can read more about what we do there also. We won't get into all of it right here, but becausetheworldneeds.com. And the point of that is because the world needs more compassion. The world needs more connection. Because the world needs deepening relationships. We need tools to live our best lives.
More peace, more whatever it may be. The world needs a lot of things, and so better relationships.
And obviously another podcast.
Indeed.
Which we're doing for you guys right now. So thanks for tuning in. We love
Number
you all
one,
so
our
much.
First podcast. And
we did it.
And
I'm in my sweatsuit. Kyle was like, sweatsuit, huh? And I was like, I just need to feel cozy. I'm feeling vulnerable.
It's, what does it
and
say?
It says Hope Dealer.
Oh.
One of my good friends is opening a studio, like a yoga and Pilates healing, and a reformer Pilates studio here she's in Gilbert, Arizona, home of the Gilbert Goons.
Does she, that's not going to age well.
Yeah, you guys, that won't age well. Right now we're having a pandemic is it a pandemic? It's not a pandemic.
No.
What's it called?
It's
an epidemic of teen violence.
Maybe.
Of little turd children beating up children in the street. And it has resulted in some pretty horrible stuff. So anyway, Gilbert Goons reference. But she has a place that's the opposite of Gilbert Goons, which is a very healing studio. And I am the sound meditation instructor at her studio.
Wow.
And I love Mel so much. But my sweatshirt says Hope Dealer.
Does she do yoga and Pilates?
And the room is full of hotties consistently.
Wow. What's it called?
Madonna reference for those of you who were born after 2000.
Yes. I don't know why. For some reason, every time I hear...
Right. I do yoga and Pilates and the room is full of hotties.
I don't know why.
So I'm checking out the bodies and I'm satisfied.
Okay.
I think that's how it goes.
What's her place called?
It's called the Wave Pilates. So this
Not
is a free,
sponsored.
not sponsored, but man, that Mel deserves a
Ooh-wee.
shout out. So there you go, the Wave
Wave
Pilates.
Pilates. By the time,
Because she loves the ocean, she loves the beach.
is she gonna have ocean sounds going
And I
all
love
the
this.
time?
I love this. Oh, that would be so nice. I want to do an ocean sound meditation too sometime soon. But I loved this quote. We're thinking of putting it on her wall. You guys will have to tell me if you think it's a good idea, because she's just like, okay, what can I really commit to? But it's by John Kabat-Zinn, which I'm also a meditation teacher, and I love John Kabat-Zinn. And he says, you can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And is that not totally our motto now? And like what this whole podcast was about?
And that's one thing with panic attacks too, is riding them.
Yeah, you got to ride the wave. You just got to accept that they're happening.
Yeah. Instead of trying to go against the waves, because it's hard. Like those that have been to like a beach that has some pretty intense waves, to get past the waves and out there, it's very difficult. But if you go with the waves and just, it makes it a lot easier instead of fighting against it and just letting it happen.
Yeah. So I love that. You can't stop the waves, but you can learn to surf. And that's what this podcast is going to be all about, is like, how do we
surfing?
Surfing
We
all day long.
love surfing.
Laird Hamilton will be on the podcast.
Who?
Laird Hamilton.
You know surfers?
Yeah, well, Laird Hamilton, he's legit. He's so cool. He's a cool dude.
Yes. We want to talk about wetsuits.
He's not going to be on the podcast. And don't sue me. Don't send me a letter, Laird. I was just kidding, because I'm a fan girl.
Surfboard wax.
No.
And
about surfing the waves.
Sharks.
Sharks.
And
beaches.
Time.
Yeah.
Fires on the beach after you went surfing.
Yeah. No, none of that.
Oh.
None of those. Sorry.
So I've never been surfing.
Yeah, he's never been surfing, so that was probably like a really
because I grew
shallow...
up watching Jaws.
That's true.
And I know that there's great white sharks just right off the shore waiting to eat me. No, thank you.
No, thank you. Yeah. So, but no, this is about learning how to surf the waves of life, deepening relationships. I feel like we have some awesome stuff to talk about with parents and teenagers too, and adult children. Not that we know it all, but we've learned some things that have given us a lot of peace and happiness, and
we
moved the needle.
Yeah, we've gone through some stuff with that, and worked at a school for many years.
Yes.
With teens and parents. So yeah, we're excited to help
talk about all of that. Share what we've learned.
Yes.
Huge insights with working with all those high schoolers too. We're gonna have a whole episode on that. We have that outlined too.
We should see if we can get some of them on if they want to come to Arizona.
I would love to know what they're up to right now. Some of our graduates. I love them.
I found a letter. Do you want to read it?
No, we got to end. Kyle just 15 minutes ago said, well, we got to end the podcast. It's 2:58.
Oh, man.
He was like, we got to end the podcast. And now here we are rambling. But this is also what it's going to be, you guys. So fair warning. We want to connect. We want to tell stories. We want to tell a lot of cool people's stories. Don't we, babe? Don't we,
yes.
babe?
We do want to talk to you.
The camera. Each other. I want to talk to you. You're my best friend. They can just listen in.
So you want to turn the chairs like this?
No, my profile.
And you want to hold hands while we talk?
My profile is no bueno. I should actually look at the camera more because I like my full face front.
There was many times when she was talking, which you probably realized, when she was looking at me and I was like looking at the camera, trying to get her to turn her head.
I don't talk
look
to
at the
cameras.
camera.
I talk to people.
And she's talking to you, but looking at me.
Yeah. So. I talk to people, so I'm much better live. But please,
we're gonna have to create something behind it.
No, it's fine.
Like a
I
fake
don't
crowd.
need to look at it. They're just listening to a conversation. You're welcome, YouTube. This is about the pod. This is about the vocals.
Good vocals.
Unique New York.
And surfing.
Yes, in unique New York. All right, let's wrap it up.
The arsonist had oddly shaped feet.
I do love Anchorman. Okay, we love you guys. Thank you for being here. We're so excited for part 2.
You just Michael Scotted that, right?
What?
Like you say a quote and then he has to say what it was right after. You don't have to say it was from Anchorman. You could have they could have said.
You didn't have to say that was a Michael Scott.
You Michael Scotted it.
Dogovic, we have to wrap it up. We have to stop.
This is one of my.
Yeah, for
I
those
like
of you
The
watching on
Office.
YouTube, he loves The Office. It's his comfort
We'll go.
television
We'll
program.
go through what all is in there.
One day.
But
Okay, but thank you for tuning in. We gotta go.
okay.